Over the course of your life, there are a couple of decisions that can alter your trajectory forever. Choosing whether or not to get married and who you will get married to, the religion you'll be devoted to and dedicate your life to following, and the career field you'll choose to trade your time for money are just some examples of the life-changing decisions you'll have to make as you get older. However, one of the most life-changing decisions for me was learning the Python programming language, and I know that it can be just as life-changing for you. You see, if you're on the fence about learning Python, there are plenty of reasons why you should start today. According to the website Statista, Python is ranked as the third most popular programming language in the world, and you can apply Python to a plethora of different career fields. In fact, I've made a whole video dedicated to this very concept where we discuss the different career fields you can apply Python in and the salaries you can expect to make in them. You see, I've been coding in Python for about 5 years now, and having never taken a course in college, I can honestly say that I've learned a surprising amount. From how to build web applications with Flask to how to perform data analysis with Pandas, making machine learning models with libraries like scikit-learn and TensorFlow, and even interacting with AWS services with Boto 3. However, even though I've learned a ton over the past few years, I definitely do not think that I taught myself in the perfect style. I definitely think I could have been more efficient with the time I dedicated to studying. There are definitely areas that I would have skipped over because they are just quite frankly useless to me now. And there are certain topics that I would have prioritized way sooner than I did to only accelerate my learning. As the title might imply, in this video, I want to take you guys through the approach I would use to teaching myself Python if I had to start over from square one. You see, the goal of this video is for you to learn from the mistakes that I made to ensure that you're taking the correct approaches in studying such a life-changing skill. In particular, the following 4 areas are ones that I wish I could go back and change, and if you listen to the suggestions I make in each one, you will be better off for it. So let's jump right in. First, and this one is probably the most obvious, but there's no getting around it, I would make sure I spend and dedicate as much time as possible to truly mastering the syntax of the Python programming language. You see, if I ever get stuck on a topic, I would simply move on to something else until I felt ready to come back and try to truly understand it. However, that's just really not a great approach. How could you expect to learn something that you don't even understand? And if I had to sit myself down and say, study these resources, the following ones are the ones I would have recommended to my younger self. First, the Introduction to Python Free Codecamp YouTube video. I came across this one probably later than I should have on my coding journey. However, it was definitely the single most powerful resource I discovered in helping me master the Python programming language. The instructor was super clear, and I felt that every single concept taught built upon the prior one in such a way that by the end of this 4-hour-long free video, I kind of felt like a Python master, which I wasn't, but I still felt that way. Because the number of good free resources out there on the internet is limited, I would have recommended one paid coding course above all the rest to dedicate my study time to much sooner, and that is DataQuest. See, DataQuest is a website that's traditionally meant to gear you for data scientists and data analysis and even machine learning type of roles. But I do also feel like they did a fantastic job of teaching the Python fundamentals, namely because of the projects-based course structure that they came up with. As we'll discuss in the next point, doing projects is the single best resource anyone can leverage in getting better at any programming language. In fact, I'm so passionate about providing resources to aspiring programmers that I even created my own online software engineering in Python course that is meant to teach the fundamentals of not just the Python programming language, but also in areas in which you can apply Python. As time goes on, I'll be continuously adding to this course, but the Introduction to Python module is one that I definitely wish I would have had as I was starting out. You see, the final thing in this section that I would remind myself about is that you don't need to be spending tens of thousands of dollars by boot camps offered by accredited universities just to learn the basics of a programming language that can be found on the internet for free or for a fraction of the cost. Now, the second thing that I would go back in time and recommend to myself is start applying your coding knowledge way sooner. Now, perhaps some of you can relate, but I know for my younger self, if I was learning something new, I had such a big aversion to failure. However, I would remind my younger self that you just need to get over this. If everyone was perfect at everything on the first try, there would really be nothing that makes us special, and really there'd be no value in hard work. As a result, I would tell myself, just pick an area that you think you're passionate about within the realm of coding and start building out a portfolio from there. You see, this is actually something that I did do, but very, very late in my coding journey. You see, if I would have done this sooner, I feel like the skills I had developed over time would have just simply been accelerated. And really, I have no idea where I would even be today had I started doing projects sooner than I did. Now, for me, the area that I chose to do projects in was in the field of data science, but there are many other fields that you could build a portfolio out of. Maybe you choose to go the front end route with HTML and CSS. Well, if that's the case, build a web page. If you want to go the route I did with data science and machine learning, try to predict, housing prices in the market, for example. Or if you want to go the back-end engineering route, maybe just build a suite of APIs that are able to return from a database relevant responses based upon the requests that are received as an input. Again, I believe this is one of the most powerful ways to learn any programming language. If you guys do choose to do any sort of bootcamp, make sure they're project-based. Make sure that you're actually able to apply the knowledge that you are acquiring in the sort of read as you go along type sections. Now, this third area I would tell myself to get into way sooner than I did is in the area of data structures and algorithms. Now, I kind of think this is probably a result of me being self-taught, but data structures and algorithms is something you would probably learn more in a computer science course in a traditional university. But when you're teaching yourself how to code, you probably focus more on the syntax and, as I just got done reiterating, the projects that you can apply the syntax of the language you're trying to teach yourself. However, as you progress in coding, it's not simply enough to know how to code. Again, you have to think like a programmer. If any of you guys have watched my past videos, I reiterate this point tremendously, but I do believe it's true. Now, data structures and algorithms do just that. Once you sort of have a master on the syntax of the language you're teaching yourself, being able to actually think at a higher level about the sort of underworkings or foundations of the code you're operating in is so vital. From things like asymptotic analysis with time complexity and space complexity, as well as just the different data structures and how you can optimize them to fit the use case of a problem you're inevitably going to come across, it would be extremely valuable for you in your skill set, which is why I would have told myself, as soon as you understand the sort of basic data structures of each language, jump right into this. Now, the other added benefit of going through DSA courses sooner is that you will be prepared for the infamous tech interview if you do apply to any coding role. And to help you prepare for that, the best resource that I ever came across is the website LeetCode. You see, LeetCode is a repository of brain teaser-like problems that really test you in your ability to solve data structure and algorithmic type problems. They even offer a DSA course that I took myself and found to be one of the best resources I could ever have come across for teaching myself this vital area. Now, the last thing I would suggest to myself, and which is one that is probably overlooked, that in an age where we have access to the internet, and especially for people like us in tech who are on the internet basically all day, I would encourage myself to take the time and maybe slow down and actually check out a book or two on how to program in a certain language. You see, when I was learning how to code, I always felt that reading a book by someone else who obviously probably had a PhD in computer science was just very intimidating. Like, would I even understand what they're writing? Will it just be like a bunch of esoteric texts that I'm gonna have to just spend hours trying to decipher through? And when I actually did come across my first book from an amazing publisher called O'Reilly, I definitely wish I would have picked up a couple of their books sooner. I believe the first book that I took out by O'Reilly was Python for Data Analysis, which was written by the author of the well-renowned Pandas library. And I could just remember going through it, and like as I would read it, I would actually be able to apply it to projects. And I was even able to leverage some of what I was reading in a job setting that I had coming straight out of school. From there, I moved to the machine learning and Python with scikit-learn and TensorFlow book, which was an amazing read. And I even checked out a book called Data Science on AWS to help me in my current role, and have found it to be tremendously helpful. All that to say, don't be afraid to check out books just because paper and pen may seem a bit more archaic. You can definitely take away some really great things, and not to mention following along with the code that is provided in these coding books also help you to get a feel of the topics they're discussing, which will again go a long way in helping you build out that coding skill set. So there you have it, guys. 4 areas that I would go back and change or improve if I were to learn how to code in Python from scratch. Now, as of this moment in 2024, it's impossible to travel back in time. However, that's not to say that you guys can't learn from my mistakes and build upon them to make sure you are taking the best and most efficient route possible in learning the Python programming language in 2024. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Go ahead and like, subscribe, comment down below if you found any of these areas to be helpful, or if you guys have already mastered Python or another programming language. Have any of these resonated with you, or are there any other ways you would have gone back and taught your past self to do something better to help you improve and quickly build that coding skill set? I look forward to reading all of your responses, and I'll catch you in the next one. See you there.